Hi guys, my name is Anna. I'm the founder and the creative director of Ganor Dominique footwear brand. Welcome to my podcast. So the podcast is about people who are passionate about their work, about their life, and just generally very passionate people. And I hope that this podcast will actually help young creatives to find the balance between creativity and actually how to monetize it and turn it into a successful career. So today my guest on my debut episode is Manny, my dear friend and my creative soulmate, who we worked on many projects together. And for me, when I collaborate with people, the most important thing is energy. Mm-hmm. And Manny, he always transmits positivity and charges everything that he does with positivity, with sunshine, with a burst of color. So Manny, I'm very happy to have you here today. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, and thank you for having me as well. And I'm excited about the podcast today.
So I want to start by you introducing yourself and telling us about your background and maybe a couple of stories from your childhood, mm-hmm. what influenced your personality and also your career choice.
Yeah, absolutely. I was born and grew up in Thailand, in Bangkok, and growing up wasn't easy. But what really helps me through is fashion. Mm-hmm. And I remember the first pinpoint is about when I bought my first Vogue magazine at the airport. It was 1997, I think April issues. And there was an editorial there. I didn't know much about it, but then I kept sketching it on the plane, everywhere that I go. But now looking back at it, I realized that it was the collection that John Galliano created for Givenchy, for the couture collection, mm-hmm. and it's shot by Peter Lindbergh. So now my knowledge of fashion kind of came back in, but as a teenage Manny, that was my escapism. So because of that, fashion has become my savior in a way. So that's when I did my first degree in design, and there was no fashion school in my country at that time. So I went to architecture school, and then I got into industrial design collection, a degree. So and I used my final degree a year to study textile, because mm-hmm. I love working with people and I love fashion. And that's when in 2000 I moved here to London. And I wanted to go to Central St. Martin's. So I spent about a year preparing my portfolio with them. And then the door kind of closed on me. They asked me to consider fashion prints, which now looking back, it makes sense. Yeah. But that time I thought, I've done my textile degree. I want to know how to create garments, to make collections. And so I didn't take that course. And at the same time as well, during the day I went to Central St. Martin's, but in the evening I went to Pineapple Dance Studio. Mm-hmm. And because it was like a hobby. Mm-hmm. And
I used to go there as well.
Yes, it's a fun, crazy place. It's quite commercial, a lot of ballet, but it has a good vibe. Yeah, definitely. And it feels like kind of like New York warehouse mm-hmm. dance studio. So and then one of the teachers there encouraged me to do the full-time training. And she recommended me that school, so I went for audition, and mm-hmm. then I got a place. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to be in London still, so I convinced my parents to support my degree. So I made a second degree in dance performance. Mm-hmm. So, but as a young Manny, start dance training at 21, there are lots of catching up to do. Mm-hmm. So my second degree, I went to Laban to do a master's degree in dance performance. Mm-hmm. And then my parents want me to do PhD. It's kind of like a family pressure because my dad got PhD, my mom got PhD, brother had one, sister had one. So I'm the last person, and I'm kind of like a pink sheep in the family. So my mom said, I don't care what area you are doing, just doing one. So that's when I started to think about combining my dance and fashion together, and it fits in nicely together. Absolutely. Because my work and my research, I was looking to how to use dance and movement vocabulary, choreographic analysis, to read the performance of the fabrics and garments, particularly when they're worn by dancer or as model is moving. So, and that became a niche kind of knowledge within my doctorate. But during my doctorate, I felt like I want to go to industry big time. And it felt right at that time. And so I started to create lots of editorials, kind of taught myself how to do creative direction, how to do styling, from all the knowledge from textile design and from dance performance. And that kind of lead to where I am. But you know, there are lots of things happen in between. I don't know whether we're going to go through that, or you might...
I want to go through everything because I'm just very passionate about you as a personality and also you as a professional.
Sure.
Because every time we work together, you're very professional, you're always prepared, and obviously you're super creative, but then at the same time you have a very good balance of being prepared, being organized, and also during all our shoots you actually direct the model, help her move, and as I said, just charge everyone else with the energy and just create this amazing vibe in the whole project. So yes, you can tell us a bit more about your how you turned your passion into your career. You already told us, and then how you proceeded further.
Because while I was writing up my doctorate thesis, I was working full-time in Savile Row. And I shared this story to a few places before. I enjoyed the work and the experience of working with highly prestigious menswear suiting, sartorial. I learned about fitting, the suit construction, how to pin the whole fit. That gained more confidence about menswear. But I also struggle big time because it could be my sexuality, it could be the way that I present myself. It's kind of feel like out of the norms of that environment. And I remember, so they forced me to wear a uniform in certain template. And I know lots of people think like, so no big deal, you're part of the brand. But for me to lose my individual identity, it cost me a lot. And it started to impact my mental health. So then I started to turn things around. And I remember February 2015, I started to dress myself up and started to see, okay, who am I? And at that year, what I'm drawn towards is just skirts, cute, all the skirts, almost like kind of anti-Savile Row aesthetics. And I got into a big hat of mountain hat, Vivienne Westwood and Charles Diego. And at that time, I wasn't sure whether is it good enough or is it all right to do that. I know it's quite extreme, but the feedback that I received from the member of the public was mind-blowing. People came and talked to me. People come and smile to me. Some people gave me a hug and take pictures of me. And so I said, okay, it seems like that is one good thing that happened. But work was still really challenging. So I decided to resign without anything lined up. And start to become freelancer, because normally to be a freelancer you work with lots of companies to gain the contacts. I didn't have that, but I felt like I need to go because the old environment was not good for me anymore. And I was struggling, but I thought and in that summer, one of the people who took my pictures turned to be Dylan Jones from British GQ.
Wow.
And at that time I wasn't sure who he was. And then I checked my Instagram who hashtagged my name. And then I saw, oh my God, this is Dylan Jones. So I went back and said hello to him. And apparently, like when I used to work for Paul Smith, I did dress him tuxedo before, but because I know who high up he is, so kind of, okay, quick, do the fitting, here you go. And a month later, I managed to secure a meeting with him at the Vogue House. And he offered me a page in the magazine. as well as wanted to see my portfolio. At that time, I said, like, I just finished my degree. I don't have any portfolio. But now I have all the free time. So I start to organize a shoot, find a way, okay, how can I get garments? How can I contact designers? How can I work with recent graduates? How can I build the team? And that's almost like a self-taught to be a creative director and to be a stylist, but also use movement as a way to keep all my kind of like signatures in. But what the theme, I just don't create fashion. And I said, like, my work is never about fashion, but it's about people, it's about human emotions. And that always becomes something that sparks my, the theme for my creative work. And, but of course, lots of editorials, it costs a lot of money. And when we publish, we don't get anything back apart from, here we go, we got the work here. So about 6 months after that, Housing Association said that we want the property back. So they took me to court.
Oh God,
and I faced through 28 days eviction. And the judge said I cannot, normally the judge would help. But she said, like, because this is the Section 21, if the landlord served this 2 months, everyone have to go. So that's when I felt like it quite a shock, you know.
Of course.
And so I found somewhere in the manor house in Stamford Hill to live, and the rent is cheaper, just to get my feet on the ground again. And but that is the flat where I found a fashion teaching job. I just came out of the blue because the first winter, the landlord was having a murder mystery in the house with his friends, and one of their friends couldn't make it, so I just stepped in, and I talked to his friends, and we both have difficult mother, so we talk about mum. And we get on really well, and he has a friend who ran a fashion summer school in Oxford, and he said, like, they need someone urgently to teach fashion. Will you be up for it? I said, sure, you know, because like I'm freelancing, I don't have anything lined up, so I just went for it, and it was a job that I fell in love with teaching. But it's so because the brief create, and I interpret the brief. For example, their final major project, they have to create a paper dress. And I asked them to pick up a theme and said, like, if you we all have superpower. If you have superpower, what kind of thing you want to see in the world that change it? So then we got paper dress on LGBTQ rights. We have paper dress on climate change. We have paper dress on anti-terrorism and so on. So to see these like teenagers, kids that translate my brief into the final kind of fashion design project, it was mind blowing. And so then I realized that, you know, absolutely. And, you know, thinking about from how to change adult perspectives, it might be a bit harder through fashion media. But if I go into the education, these are next generations. So then they become a new generation to go into the industry or reforming the industry. So that's why I start to thread on these educations. And so that kind of lead me to London College of Fashion, where I teach now for 2 years. So it's still morphing from creative work. I still do my creative work and freelancing, and in combining with teaching. And my approach that is like, I want to celebrate everyone as a human being, and something about the holistic approach. Because as an artist, we went through trauma, we went through stresses, and that's why we want to channel those emotions and thoughts and bring into the art practice. And I think that's the process that I would encourage my students. Recently, because of pandemic, it was a real challenge, and because my students are in 4 continents, with 10 different time zones.
Yeah.
So, you know, but then I find a way to allow them to make it inclusive. And we got the work to submit that it was, some work make me cry.
Wow.
We have one student. She went home in Africa to celebrate her 21st birthday. And then COVID hit. So after she came out of the plane, she just had to go to quarantine center.
Yeah.
Couldn't go home. She has no internet. But what she does is she had her Polaroid camera with her. And she took portraits of everyone who came out of that plane.
Oh my God.
And she made artwork based on that. And her family came to visit her at the hotel. So she took some of the letter that her niece wrote her as part of the collage. And then she worked with the local school. And some of the children's artwork were present in the collage. It was mind-blowing. Wow. And it's personal and it's inspiring as well. So I think that is something around humanity, about human emotions, about community connections through the art. That is something that I'm interested in. And it changed my path from industry to education. And the next steps I'm currently, because I start to bring dance and fashion to teach creative workshop for the community. And my students kind of grow from adults with learning disabilities to children in foster care. And I teach drag workshop in the prison. So these are areas that I'm interested in growing and morphing. And next year or this year, let's see, I'm taking a course in art therapy. So it's still around in the realm of fashion, dance, art, teaching, education, but for the better future and also for the better ourselves as well. So that's kind of like.
This is so inspiring.
Thank you.
Really. And also you mentioned that the project was about superpowers, and actually this is what we as the Ganor Dominic brand were starting. Kind of the new movement of the brand. We encourage people to write their unique trait and their superpower in the card that comes with every pair of shoes. And we want our shoes to actually not be a fashion object. Obviously, we're glad if people like how they look, etc. But we also want them to be a mascot that will remind the wearer about their own unique trait and about their superpower. So we encourage people to write it down and remember. And we believe that you change the world by actually being yourself. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about your own unique traits. I mean, you're completely unique on your own in every aspect, but maybe you can highlight one unique trait that you're kind of embracing in yourself and also your superpower.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's because I love superheroes. You know, different stories. From like DC, Marvel, and so on. And it's fascinating because most superheroes also got flaws, but they have a journey. And also some superheroes that work alone, some working in a team. And I was look up to X-Men a lot. And because I believe creative people or marginalized people, we have this power. And so some people would describe my superpower as a color. I feel like it's part of that.
Yes,
but
definitely.
I think my superpower is to find everyone's superpower and bring that out.
Wow, so you're superhero.
I look up to Professor X from X-Men, and because he has a school for gifted youngsters. In one of the film, that's what I've learned is that it's not about how to learn to control our power, but it's actually how to embrace and celebrate that power. rather than control. And I really like that.
That's true. That's very inspiring as well. And also, one of the questions that I usually ask to people recently is, what is your life values? So if you can name 3 of the most important values to you.
Mm-hmm. I think the first value is about connection.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's something as a human being, it's something very important about connections. And part of that is also a community.
Mm-hmm.
And something about be true to who we are. Because I know that there are lots of pressure from social, from peers, from parents that take us away or prevent us from achieving things. So I think something about be authentic and be true to who we are, say what we believe in, and if we don't like something, we want to change something and make us let us do the change rather than blaming other people who hasn't done enough, but just like we can be the change.
Yes, absolutely. And do you have any not exercises, but maybe some advices of how the young creatives can actually explore themselves deeper? So how can they step on the journey of discovering who they are in order to be who they are and change the world by being themselves? So do you have any practical advices of how to do that?
So this one is been given to me. I attend one open mic in Soho. It's no longer there, but they have someone from Radical Fairies. He said that we have to reach in and then see what we can give to the world. So I think it's very important to reflect. What do I like? What do I enjoy? What do I want about? What do I think about this? So once we find ourselves and our voice, start to practice that voice. Because to have a thought, to know who we are, and to say it out loud is a different thing. And not only that, I also value the collectives of how can I find other people who share the same view and speak the same voice to say that together. And I think it took me a long journey, you know, and it's not nowhere in. And to know that the route is not straightforward. Sometimes I have to face the block to go to another direction, and that direction will make me actually meet wonderful people, and that might come back to the same route as what we like to do. And I think just to be flexible and accept that change is okay. I know I hate change, but change is okay, and don't be disheartened when the door is sealed. Because sometimes I learned this in my group therapy, like, you know, we bang on these doors, want to go in, you know, I knock on like every single magazine want to go in, but those doors are shut. But then sometimes we are too close to those doors. We don't see that actually if we step back a little bit, the other door is open. So one of my friends say that if it feels like an uphill struggle, maybe it's not the right path for us. So take opportunity to come along and then process whether is that aligned with us. If yes, continue. If not, find another path. And I think it's about finding our flow. And also be kind to one another and respect. I think that is really important in the industry right now. And I think with all the movement that's going on in the world about kindness and respect, that come to the most surface, to the front.
No, absolutely. If you ask me about my values, kindness would be the very first one, because if it's lacking, then any other values would come to zero as well. So I think kindness is kind of the core and the base of everything. My other question is, what kind of activities charge you up with energy? Because obviously you charge everyone else with your positivity, but what actually charges you up, and what gives you powers? What kind of activities?
I love cinemas. I go to cinema a lot since I was a teenager, so that my kind of like escapism.
Oh God, not at the moment, I'm afraid.
Not at the moment, that's true, because cinemas are closed down, and but I watch a lot of like Netflix and series. So it just I like to absorb life and see life in a different way, follow someone's characters, and see what I can learn from there.
I see. And also, what kind of activities drain you out? Because obviously in our everyday life, we all have to do some stuff that we don't really enjoy. So if you can give an example of what drains you out and how you actually not force yourself to do it, but kind of get over it, and then how do you structure your everyday life in order to balance between what charges you up and what drains you out?
I think during quarantine I find it very hard because as an extrovert I like working with people, seeing people, hello, to neighbors. So I think now that I'm on annual leave, it's quite hard to do this staycation, because I feel like, well, there's not so much I can do, and all of the routes that I enjoy during the quarantine, I've done all that. So I think something about old routine that kind of like drained me. I'm the person that needs some sparks, excitement, something change. So I think,
even though you said you don't like changes, but at the same time you do.
I think that part of being extrovert that I need to connect, and if what I notice is that because it's August, lots of people go on holiday as well. I notice like all my neighbors are gone, or now things are open up. People go back to their own clique again. So it's slightly different from the early of quarantine where everyone's like, are you okay? You know, I feel like there's a sense of support more at the beginning of the pandemic. Now people kind of fed up, angry, and just like, I don't care about it, I'm gonna go on holiday. But I think what's helped me is just like, what is possible, excited small things. And at the moment I watch a lot of series on Netflix and documentaries. I bought some books recently. So I start to get back into it again, because I used to read a lot and write a lot when I was a kid, and then passion towards cinema kind of takes over. So now that I can't go to cinema, so like I bought some more books.
That's good. And well, maybe you can recommend some of the books. It could be something career related, or just something that really influenced your personality.
I can bring. I think about books and also cinema as a series that kind of like the audience can check out. So my most favorite film is Billy Elliot. It's truly inspiring, and at that time I was just about to do my dance training as well. So it's really heartwarming, and I cry many times watching the film. And I also like Little Miss Sunshine. And it's full of characters, some joy. I think it's come about family and relationship. And also someone, because the little girl wants to be the beauty pageant, but she doesn't fit the mold of it. I think I like the story of a contrast of someone that follow the heart, even though it's against all odds. That's what I really like. And there's another rapper story called Patty Cake. I don't know whether it's fiction or fact, but she's American and she's big in terms of like her size, but she wants to get into the rapping industry.
Interesting.
And it's really inspiring, and the music is good. And the final film that in my head is Cloud Atlas.
Yeah, beautiful. We actually recently rewatched it.
Yeah, so you can read. There's a book on that as well, and it's just about different stories happen in different timeline, and it all linked to one another. And there was a role that Susan Sarandon was said, like, you know, why we human being, we're all connected. We're not operate on our own, and the past, the present, the future, they're all connected. And sometimes we keep making the same mistakes over and over again. But she also said, like, every decision we make, it rebirth our future. whether a hero or villain, they all have role to play, and one decision will lead to another option. So that's what I like. And 3 books I just bought. I got the list here.
Yes,
Because I'm going
us.
away soon, so that's why I brought I bought these books with me. So one is called All the Bright Places. I think this has turned into a film in Netflix. I'm not entirely sure. And the other 2 are from the same author. One is called History Is All You Left of Me.
Oh.
And then
Is it the documentary?
So
book,
this is fiction.
Uh-huh.
And the final book is called They Both Die at the End. So it might sound like heavy, but actually these books is about 2 characters that are completely different. The first one, All the Bright Places, she's like kind of like cheerleader, but she has, I think she has a brother who lost to suicide. And then another guy, he kind of like, I think he's autistic, but obsessed with death. But then they meet each other. But because of so much contrast between the character, but they have also something in common, and they came together at the end. And the book, the one that say they all die in the end, it's set in like a dystopia kind of like fashion that 2 guys receive a phone call and said in 24 hours you're gonna die.
Oh.
But then they go into this kind of like a last day app or something like that. And they spend a day together. So when I read these synopsis, it made me cry.
Wow.
So I thought, okay, maybe I should check that out.
Wow, it sounds exciting. So after the holiday, you can tell me, or maybe
absolutely. Because the thing is about the contrast of like being differences, but they all connect.
Yes,
it's about connection through loss, something about mental health, grief, but also hope.
Yes, absolutely. That's a very interesting question. So what would you do if you had just 24 hours left? Would you change anything in your routine, or you would just lead your normal day and just enjoy it?
It's a good question because sometimes like I kind of like I do what I need to do and just spend. I know it's a cliche to say like spend is almost like your last day. But I don't know. I want to reach out to my friends and make more connections, I think. And because the quarantine, because of the busy of the fashion work, sometimes it made me realize like I can be quite isolated and working things on my own and dealing with all problems on my own. I think to make more connections and to be more human, that could be something.
That is very touching. And okay, let's come back to more practical side then. Also, I wanted you to recommend to our audience any YouTube channels if you watch any, or maybe some people that you follow online, someone who inspires you.
Because I really like listen to music on YouTube, so I don't follow YouTube channel per se.
Or maybe a podcast. Something.
So I connect with a few colorful people in my circle. So one person that I think of, her name is Katie Jones, and her Instagram is Katie Jones Knit. So she's like 6 foot tall ginger woman, and we collaborate a few times, and she became a good friend. So she's colorful, like similar to me, even more me, and she's a knitwear designer, and she went through similar stages of her brand as well. So now she worked more with on the craft, and so yes.
Amazing. And maybe you can recommend some of your favorite places in London where you go for inspiration search, or you just enjoying being there.
I love Rose Garden in Regent's Park. During spring and more summer, it's when I see flowers blooming and all the scents. I always feel relaxed there. It's my most favorite spot in London. And for me, because like life tend to go 200 miles an hour.
Yes.
So sometimes for me, it's good to have a break, enjoy being in touch with nature. I think that's really give me more energy. That is something like I only start to feel recently. But also walking along London, it gives me joy because you have different shops, different characters, watching people go by, and anywhere can be a wonderful place if we are open and ready to connect with others.
So connection is the key.
Yes.
I see. And to sum up our discussion, so we talked a lot about some practical advices to young creatives, but maybe we can conclude in one either general advice, or maybe you want to highlight one lesson that you learned and it actually really helped you to balance between creativity and actually a commercial side of your career. So maybe you can give one advice or just main lesson to our young creative audience.
Yes, I always share this quote that I found on Instagram that inspired me to walk away from the full-time job. And it says something like, when we feel like we're born into a world we don't fit in, it might be because we were born to help create a new one. So it really gives me hope in a way that for those other people who like me that I can't really fit in anywhere, it's also okay to create another platform that more inclusive, that we can be part of. And don't be scared, because we're not alone in that sense. There are lots of people who feel the same, and it's about joining community, collective group of people, do something together, and also know that I know that money is not everything, but without money, I can face the eviction. So as long as we kind of do things to survive, to keep our dreams alive, just have an eye at the back of our head about the overhead cost, and then go forth with what you believe in. Money is not everything, so never lose the sight of who you are and what we believe in, and find the community to support that, and also find aspiring company and employers who see values in that.
That's a great advice. Thank you. And also at the end, I want our viewers to have kind of a little homework. So I either wanted to ask you to give our viewers a task to do to help them become a little bit more happy.
Okay.
Or if you're surprised by this and you're not ready, I have some options that we can choose from. So if you want to create a task, or we can choose one, let me know.
What came to mind is I want everyone to just think about what the practicing of joy. What gives you joy, and then list that in the morning, and then do that once a day.
Love it, absolutely, because I also have my list of pleasures.
Oh, right.
Actually, the first 2 points are directly connected to people, and as you said, connection is very important, and you mentioned that a couple of times, I always considered myself to be an introvert, and I'm very happy on my own and doing my own things backstage, like designing or reading and stuff. But then I realized that my pleasures, the 2 main points, are connected with people. So first is spending time with my family and my loved ones. And the second one is spending time with my friends, which are my loved ones as well. And then all the rest of it. So I think it is actually very important to connect and just to do things that bring you joy. This is very important.
Connection can bring joy as well.
Yes.
Because then I went to the one of the support groups, and the guy said like there was a tricks about when we feel joyful, we have to hold that feelings within our body and our brain, so the chemical in the brain can register for 12 seconds. So let's see if we can practice that. Like, for example, if I eat ice cream, it'll make me joy. So like hold on to that joyful moment for 12 seconds.
For 12 seconds.
So the body register.
This is very practical. So maybe that's the homework. So come up with a list of things that bring you joy and actually time it by 12 seconds and see how your life changes.
Yes.
Amazing. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Manny, thank you so much for such a wonderful conversation, for sharing your story, which is very inspiring. And I hope our viewers will find something for themselves and your story will inspire them to actually develop their creativity and to proceed with their career, which will bring them joy and make them more happy.
Happy to share. Thank you very much once again, Anna, for having me.
Ciao. Now we can do whatever.